Ravens flock, whether you feel happy, sad, indifferent, the fact of the matter is Joe Flacco is a Cleveland Brown. And not only that, he's going to start for the team this Sunday against the Rams. Rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson has been ruled out for the Week 13 matchup with a concussion, so now it's Flacco time. Flacco spent 11 seasons here in Baltimore, leading the Ravens to a Super Bowl victory and winning the Super Bowl MVP. Now he'll play for the team's AFC North rival as he makes the most of his opportunity at hand.
You want your teammates to feel like, man, we got a chance to win with this guy. And I think that's why it's important to go out there and work hard and have a good, crisp practice, because you want everybody to feel that, because then the more confidence you go into the game with. You know, if you have guys that you believe in, confidence helps out.
Last night, Baltimore native and former St. Francis Academy star Angel Reese made her return to LSU basketball after missing 4 straight games for an undisclosed reason after being benched. In her first game back with the team, Reese scored 19 points and pulled down 9 boards in the Tigers' win. Reese went on to say she is human, not just an athlete. High school state championships on the line in Annapolis, plus the Terps open Big Ten play on the road. That coming up on the late edition of Sports Unlimited.
Rocco, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, federal investigators help in the juvenile crime crisis in Baltimore. What this could mean for ongoing investigations. Also, lawmakers will meet next week to address the juvenile crime crisis, what we can expect, and why critics argue it won't be enough.
Federal investigators are stepping in to help find young fugitives, what it means for juvenile crime in our area. Critics say new laws are to blame for Maryland's police shortage, how it's impacting police response times. And do residents feel safe in Baltimore City? Tonight, we're hearing from you.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Mackenzie Frost. We have team coverage tonight on the crime crisis throughout our state. In just a few minutes, Amy Simpson joins us with safety concerns from Baltimore residents. But first, the U.S. Marshal Service says it's receiving more cases involving young people wanted by local police for violent crimes. Alexa Ashwell takes a look at those investigations.
Armed robbery, auto theft. In just 1 week, the U.S. Marshal Service says 3 fugitives have come across their desk. The majority of them wanted for multiple crimes, violent crimes, and all of them juveniles. 3 teens accused of committing separate and unrelated violent crimes have been added to the list of fugitives now wanted by the U.S. Marshals Service. A juvenile caseload, federal agents say, not the norm.
Most recently, we're seeing an extraordinary uptick in violent crime involving juveniles. As short as last week, we've had 3 fugitives come across our desk that are just the age of 17.
Because the fugitives are juveniles, the U.S. Marshals Service can't release their name or picture, an added hurdle for the federal agency that relies heavily on tips from the public when it comes to tracking down a wanted person.
What are these charges? What are they wanted for?
We're seeing a large uptick in carjackings and armed robberies. In one such case, an individual was wanted on 65 different charges.
That teen, wanted on 65 criminal counts, we'll refer to as Fugitive A. Investigators say this past summer, he went on a crime spree, stealing cars and robbing people. Some locations include Southeast Baltimore's Baltimore Highlands, Highlandtown, and Greektown communities. Fugitive B, back in August, is also accused of committing a string of street robberies, but in the city's Mount Vernon and Carroll communities. And Fugitive C is accused of taking part in a scheme involving 2 other juveniles. In this case, investigators say the teens robbed a man who had agreed to sell them shoes after connecting on the website OfferUp in East Baltimore. At the time, investigators say one of the juveniles was wearing an ankle monitor and under the supervision of the Department of Juvenile Services. 3 cases that agents say highlight the recent uptick in the U.S. Marshals Service involvement in tracking down juvenile fugitives. Another and high-profile case, the search for the Morgan State University mass shooters.
The Morgan State case showed us that violence knows no boundaries regardless of your age.
The age nor consequence not stopping the crime.
We want to work with our local partners to take these violent individuals off the street regardless of their age.
And the agency says this isn't just happening in Baltimore City, but neighboring jurisdictions as well. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thanks. A student was questioned after an incident at an area high school earlier this morning. Just after 11 o'clock, Kenwood High School went on lockdown after school leaders received word of a person in the building who may have had a weapon. Baltimore County Police apprehended the suspect, but did not find a weapon. No one was injured. Although no students were arrested in that case, juvenile crime continues to impact communities across Maryland, and victims are speaking out. Next week, lawmakers will hold their 3rd hearing looking for ways to tackle the problem, but those actions may be smaller than some expected. For months,
teenagers just terrorizing the neighborhood.
Fox 45 News has heard from victims.
It's crazy. These juveniles are out of control. Something's got to be done.
The criminals are emboldened. They don't care. They just don't.
One pistol whipped me, and that's why my face looks the way it does.
I just want to be safe in my own neighborhood, and right now I don't feel safe.
And many of them are looking to lawmakers in Annapolis to drive policy forward that puts a stop to the juvenile crime crisis.
They're catering to the children. They're catering to the lawbreakers. There's enough of this going on that the families, the community, the laws, the mayor need to do something.
These kids keep committing these crimes and they're not being punished for it.
The law, I'm pissed off at the law.
That law prohibiting kids 13 and younger from facing misdemeanor nonviolent charges, like car thefts. On December 5th, a House committee will hold the 3rd hearing about juvenile crime. The committee, led by Baltimore City Democrat Delegate Luke Clippinger. The previous 2 hearings have yet to produce concrete plans for changes to any legislation.
It seems like the issue's gotten so bad.
Delegate Robin Grammer, a Republican from Baltimore County, sits on the committee. He's been pushing for bigger changes and says the 2 previous hearings this fall have been beneficial, but it's time to see action.
People have to, frankly, stop playing so close to the chest and start having real discussions about this issue.
On the other side of the State House, Senator Will Smith chairs the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee. Smith says juvenile justice laws need more time to see full results.
Laws that we put in place are going to take a couple of years to fully see the fruit of the foundations that we've laid and the seeds that we've planted. I, for one, am not interested in rolling back the reforms that we put in place last year.
But some parents, like Crystal Gonzalez, whose daughter was killed in Baltimore City during the Brooklyn Day mass shooting last summer, said the young offenders understand the juvenile justice laws, and that's part of the problem.
The current state of our juvenile crime laws are showing that our juveniles are actually obeying the laws. Our young offenders understand that if they stay under the law, they cannot be held accountable because of their ages.
But what lawmakers, especially Democrats in charge, decide to do about the rise in juvenile crime remains unclear. When asked about his plan, Governor Wes Moore doesn't give specifics or a timeline. Do you have a timeline for when the public will see your vision for this moving forward, leading on this issue before January 10th?
Oh, yeah, the public will see our complete rollout prior to the legislative session.
When?
And we're working in partnership with both Democratic and Republican leaders to be able to ensure that the basic principles that we have laid out before, how do you increase accountability? How are we making sure that we're addressing the issue of illegal guns and how easy it is to gain access to illegal guns?
Several organizations working with young people like ROCA, operating in Baltimore City, are scheduled to testify at the next hearing, which will begin at 1 o'clock on December 5th in Annapolis. As crime spikes across the state, police recruitment is dwindling. Critics say it's because new laws are painting police in a negative light. Members of the Maryland Police Union sharing concerns that potential police officers are worried about being looked at as criminals while doing their job. But the lack of recruitment means it's taking longer for police to respond to calls. According to Maryland FOP President Sergeant Clyde Boatwright, recent changes to Maryland laws are slowing recruitment efforts. One of those changes, the repeal of the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights in 2021.
When an officer has an allegation against them, how that is to flow. From the receiving of the complaint through the interrogation through the discipline.
The Attorney General's office responding to questions sent by FOX45 News, saying in part, quote, the police shortage is not just in Baltimore City. Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, and Montgomery County are all actively recruiting to fill shortages. The latest violent crime in our area targeting a pediatric hospital and leaving a community on edge. Fox 45's Amy Simpson spoke to residents about whether they feel safe and completes our team coverage tonight.
Police have released a surveillance photo of a possible suspect after that pair of armed carjackings at the Children's Hospital this week. So far tonight, no word on any arrests. Baltimore police are looking to put a name to this suspect after 2 employees were victims of armed carjackings outside Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital this week. One on Wednesday night, the other Thursday morning.
1708 West Rogers on the parking lot of Mount Washington is a carjacking. Employee was carjacked at gunpoint.
Hospital officials say they've increased security. A canine patrol spotted outside this morning. Neither employee physically hurt, but news of the crimes traveling fast around the city.
How can you be surprised when, and it happened in this corner of Baltimore, or it happened over here, or it happened to this person? Nobody is safe.
Marcus Strider Dent and the Guardian Angels are a community service and crime watch group in Baltimore, reacting to the pair of carjackings outside of a children's hospital.
And now what worries me is how brave the criminals are becoming.
But brazen criminals in Baltimore already struck many times this year. Thieves preying on a police vehicle downtown this summer.
We've had a departmental car that's been stolen with police equipment in it.
Then an employee car hotwired and snatched from Fox 45's parking lot overnight this fall. With surveillance rolling, the crime unfolding in a matter of minutes. And just 1 month ago, a 12 and 14-year-old attacked a woman on her way home in Butchers Hill. That assault also caught on camera.
Nobody is safe.
This community activist, well aware the city's homicide count has dropped, poised to be below 300 for the first time in 9 years.
It's one thing when our homicides drop below 300, but then you got 10,000 cars stolen.
But points to trends like stolen cars and teens out of control for a continued sense of unease.
So how can you feel safe? You're just trading one poison for another. So no, it's not a safe place to live.
Wondering when enough will be enough.
It's just like a free-for-all. I mean, it's sad. Something drastic has to change. And the lawmakers have to do it. The police department has to do it. The citizens of Baltimore have to step up and say, we've had enough of this.
And according to police data, so far this year, 244 homicides in Baltimore City. On this day last year, the homicide count had already reached 306. In Baltimore, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
I'm Janae Bowens in Washington with a look at why the FBI is being sued for allegedly censoring social media users.
And we're dealing with showers across the state. I'll let you know when the rain finally tapers and when you can expect more rain this weekend, coming up in my full forecast.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
A watchdog group is suing the FBI for allegedly censoring social media users. At the same time, House Republicans are investigating claims of a federal government push to censor social media platforms. Sinclair national correspondent Janae Bowens explains.
Is the federal government trying to censor you on social media? It depends on who you ask.
Social media, and for that matter, big media all over, is still playing the censorship game as we speak. Governments are getting involved even more so.
This grand, crazy conspiracy of how the administration has utilized the social media companies against whom the First Amendment does not apply in order to suppress speech.
The watchdog group Protect the Public's Trust is suing the FBI, accusing the agency of withholding records the group says would show the FBI colluded with Twitter employees to moderate content on the social media platform.
It's very clear that the FBI was violating the First Amendment rights of the American people. Whether it be requesting certain pieces of content being taken down, requesting certain people being banned.
At the heart of Republicans' complaints are that this alleged censorship happened during key moments where public opinion was being shaped.
When you look back at the moments in time which they were choosing to silence people, such as presidential election cycle, such as COVID. There are great impacts for people not being able to voice their opinion.
Republicans say President Biden and his supporters pressured social media companies to silence conservative voices who were trying to raise questions about such things as Hunter Biden's business dealings and COVID-19 lockdowns. Democrats argue there was no effort to do that.
This committee has heard closed-door testimony from 29 witnesses who have said on the record, government, as well as social media individuals, that the alleged collusion and supposed censorship claimed by the committee Republicans has not taken place.
Now, Mackenzie, this issue goes beyond congressional oversight. In the coming months, the Supreme Court is set to weigh in on whether the Biden administration violated the First Amendment by pressuring tech companies to remove content.
Janae, any word on next steps for the House Republicans' investigation into the federal government's relationship with these social media companies?
Yeah, so we can expect to see more hearings from the House Judiciary Committee. Now, they've subpoenaed 2 more former Biden administration officials as well. Mackenzie.
Janae Bowens, thanks so much.
Right now, you're taking a look over the harbor and over Towson. You can't see too much in the background. We're dealing with rain and we're dealing with fog, and you can see that on the HD radar all as we deal with our latest weather maker. But we have more rain on the way later this weekend. We're starting to see the rain taper around the state and around the region. Those showers are continuing to push toward the northeast, but we've got more rain on the way as the weekend comes to an end. 46 currently for the temperature, and you can see in the background just how foggy it is. Our visibility is still reduced, so if you're driving anywhere tonight, you may be driving in areas with that patchy fog. Even tomorrow morning, still that chance for areas of patchy fog. Otherwise, temperatures are currently in the 40s, and that's where we'll stay tonight. We'll have a pretty mild night. Clouds will remain overhead. And then tomorrow, a nice warm up as temperatures rise to 63. Will stay mostly dry. Then we're looking at 60 and the next chance for showers on Sunday. After that, finally a nice and dry day on Monday, but temperatures a little lower. Highs will be in the mid-50s. Close to midnight, the showers taper, and we'll be left with cloudy skies overnight and into tomorrow morning. As we head into the afternoon, those clouds linger. Temperatures rise to the upper 50s and the low 60s, but shortly after that, for the night, rain returns, and that's going to continue off and on into Sunday morning. We'll be waking up to rain, and at times there could be areas of heavy rain. Expect those showers off and on into the afternoon and evening. If you will be driving anywhere, just make sure that you are checking the radar and driving safely. As we continue into the night, the rain will taper. 44 tonight with a few scattered showers. Winds will be light, and after midnight, the rain tapers. Skies will be cloudy. Those clouds are going to hang around tomorrow. 63 for the high temperature. That's about 10 degrees above average for this time of year, but we have lower temperatures, making it feel more like December next week. Coming up, I'll have a closer look at what to expect as December continues in the exclusive 10-day forecast. Back to you.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
The northern lights lit up the skies over several northern states last night. A geomagnetic storm triggered this light show, but it was one of the wildfires still burning in western North Carolina that lit up the sky there last night. And here's Oregon snowfall in 2 scenes. One is a snow-covered highway this morning, the other a fresh coat with holiday decorations.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
A momentous life event could come at a rising cost. We'll have some money-saving tips you need to know before saying I do. While wedding season has come to an end, it's still a popular time of year for engagements. But couples have to consider the rising costs of saying I do. In tonight's Assignment America, Caroline Patrikis from our sister station in Washington, D.C. spoke to a local wedding planner, a few of them, about how to save some money on your wedding.
Engagement season is underway, and as wedding planners prepare for the wedding season of 2024, they say wedding boom might be slowing down just a bit, but the cost to say I do is speeding up.
I think we've seen costs just across the board rise around 20% or so, in some cases maybe even higher.
Stephanie Sadowski of SRS Events says her couples spend a minimum of $1,000 per guest. That number is up from when she started her business in 2016.
DC in general is more expensive than other parts of the U.S. So when couples look and Google what's the average cost of a wedding, what they see from Zola, what they see from The Knot, all of those articles that pop up of $29,000 doesn't apply to the DC area.
Kalina Thomas, who owns Blue Sapphire Events, said her couples spend up to $125,000 for a DC area wedding.
Why does it seem like weddings are more expensive than other events? That reason is because there's not really any other events that people are dreaming about since they're small children.
Her tips for saving?
I don't know that there's necessarily like any tricks or true things and ways to save. You know, the number one thing that people constantly talk about is, you know, cut your guest list.
She says having an expert wedding planner could help you navigate your budget before booking a venue you can't afford.
Because I think it gets so difficult if they don't have those numbers beforehand. They're going to go out, they're going to book a venue that maybe they can't afford. Realize, oh no, I've spent all of my money on the venue and the catering, and now I don't have money for anything else.
We're continuing to see showers over the state, but those will taper over the